Hello and welcome to 2024. Thank you for joining us at A Beautiful Literature. I am Teacher Martha and I am so glad that God has given us an opportunity to see this new year. And it's not something we never ever are going to take it for granted. We all know that for us to be here in the year 2024, it is a blessing and we thank God for it. Now, as you can see the title of the discussion today, I know how controversial it sounds, and because most of us have already written our New Year's resolutions. I hope you have. Have you? Yes, personally I have. I have them. I have written them down, and yet I've told you not to write, to stop and stop writing them down. I'm not asking you to stop, really, but I'm asking you to pause before you actually continue writing, because I wanted us to engage a bit as far as these New Year resolutions are concerned, about these new things we want to do are concerned. And I will go straight into our discussions today, because I have looked at myself, I've looked at the past. And there's a question I've been asking myself very much, that how much of the past have I been able to achieve? I don't know. I want to hope that last year in 2023, there are things that you wrote down that are your New Year resolutions. There are things that you looked at the January and you are sure by the end of the year, 2023, I should have been able to do 1, 2, 3. Have you been able to do those things? Now, that's the discussion I want us to have. Have you been able to have those things? And why not? Or if you have, what made you achieve them? What led to the achievement of the things that you had desired to see happening at the beginning of the year? That's a conversation that you need to have, because if we don't do that, it means this year, just like last year and the other year and the other year, you will still continue writing new resolutions, but at the end of the year, you don't even remember what you wrote down. You'll actually have to go back to your notebooks to remember what it was. And by the end of the day, it's just a routine. It's a practice that we have, and we don't even follow it up. We do nothing even to make it happen. And while I am at that, knowing that I am a believer, and I'm a Christian, let me tell you, I believe in the word of the year, that the thing that God is speaking to me right now. But as I do that, I am very, very careful. I'm very careful about those very prophetic things that men of God will give us out there, that this is your year of expansion, this is your year of what, this is your year of what. The question I've been asking myself, last year, whatever year it was, did you see that happen? Did you see that come to pass? Maybe I need to, let me just go that way for a minute before I come back to these other ones. I'm reminded of one of my favorite characters in the Bible, that is a man called Caleb. And Caleb, others will call him Caleb. Now, Caleb was a young man at some point with his friend and very close friend called Joshua. And we all know the story of him being sent to spy the land where they were supposed to inherit the promised land. 12 of them, and 10 of them came back with bad report, and 2 of them, that is Joshua and Caleb, came back with good report. At that moment, when the bad report was given, the people, the Israelites, were very upset. They were mad. They said they won't go back to Egypt. They don't want to go dying there. And God was very upset with the 10 spies. But these 2 that gave a good report, actually, God made a promise through Moses. And he said to Caleb and to Joshua, actually, there's a mountain as an inheritance that he gave to Caleb. And he said, this will be your mountain. This will be your land. It's land that I've promised you, because you are of a different spirit, because you have obeyed, because you have had faith to come and communicate to the people as you saw it with a lot of faith. Now, fast forward many years later, 45 years later, we come across Joshua. Moses was already dead, and now it is Joshua who is in the helm of leadership. And Caleb goes to Joshua and tells him, you remember that time when we came from the promised land, from spying the land? You remember what Moses said to me? He said to me, God said to me through Moses, that this is my mountain, that I should have it. And he told him, look at me. It is 45 years ago. I am strong as I was. I can take this mountain. I will not just take the mountain, but I will conquer even the giants in it, and I will defeat them, and I will be able to have my people settle in down there. Every time when I think about that old man, because at this moment when he's having this conversation with with Joshua, he's an older man, 45 years later. And I keep thinking, for 45 years, Caleb had chosen not to forget the promise that God had given him. Every new year, I'm sure he kept reminding himself, on top of the many other words that God would have said to him, there is this particular word that he knew, I've not seen the fulfillment of this particular word, and I will pursue it at the right time. I don't know for us, I feel like maybe, I don't know whether it's a Kenyan habit or it's just a habit that we have, that every new year we must have a new thing. But the question is, what have we done in the course of the year to make sure that that word that we had at the beginning of the year has come to pass? Or do we just hear the excitement, and then by 15th of January, by 29th of January, the word that we had less than a month ago, we don't see any fruit of it, we are not pursuing it, we are not doing anything deliberate, even to make sure that we see that happening. And I wanted to throw that challenge to us because it's been a challenge for me every year. By the way, there are some years I don't have the year of, I don't have a word for the year, because really, even what was spoken to me last year, can I even remember what it was? Do I even remember what the Lord had said to me about last year? Did I follow up that word? Because remember what the scripture talks about. God is watching over his word to fulfill it. So if really he's the one who said that to you last year, he's faithful enough to make sure that he follows up that word to fulfill it. So when it doesn't happen, it's not about God. He follows it up, but you must follow it up as well. Remember, we keep saying that for God to do something, we need to take the step first. We need to do something. He says, draw nearer to me, I will draw nearer to you. So for that word to happen, we need to draw. We need to come so that he can come. He says, come to me, all ye who are weak and heavy laden. So there is that thing of us doing, so that then the word that he spoke can happen. There's effort that is needed from our end. So even as we talk about New Year's resolutions, for me, that is something that is ringing in my mind. And this year, let me tell you, I have so many resolutions. Not many. I have deep, heavy resolutions. I have around 4 of them. And I'm telling God, these 4, I am telling you, I'm going to watch them. Like some friends of mine who say that you are watching them, ni kama maziwa ikiwa kwa jiko ndio isimwagike. I am going to watch these 4 until I make sure that they happen, because I know it's God who has spoken to me. But I wanted to throw that challenge to you. Even as you write your New Year's resolutions down, what happened to last year's resolutions? Have you done something about them? Have you followed them up? What happened that they didn't come true? Is there something that you encountered along the way? Because if you don't deal with what happened or did not happen last year, it will still go on this year. So you're just wasting time. Can you stop writing those things down? If at all you're not taking time to do a time to just check what happened last year. Just measure yourself. Just check, where are we? In as far as last year is concerned, I scored a 70%, I scored a 40%. And probably you may not need to write new ones. You need to go back to what you wrote last year and carry them forward and say, these ones didn't happen. And so I am going to first of all accomplish for last year, or last year but one, because probably that is where you need to begin. You don't need new ones. And I want to just share with you something that I've learned along the way that has helped me a lot in accomplishing that. I write a lot. I am the old school person who must write on a piece of paper. Me with typing things on the screens, it's not my thing. But books, I have very many small notebooks, big diaries, and very small diaries where I write depending on what. And I can write anywhere on any book. So all of them are important. Some of them are half filled, others are full, others are not. And I can write anywhere depending on what book I have in my hands at that moment. But one of the things I have learned that has helped me a lot to keep track of my goals, keep track of resolutions, keep track of the promises that I have promised Martha. I've promised her that I will do this for you. I will stay this way for you, because I think if there is anybody who needs that promise that we are trying to make, that New Year resolution should not be for anyone else. First, it should be for you. It should be for me first, because when I do it for me, then the others will be beneficiaries of the promise, of the activity that is going around that resolution. They will benefit automatically. And so one of the things that I want to encourage us to do, because I want to keep it short, is that some of the things we talk about students a lot is something we call discipline. And I want you just don't feel like I'm taking you back to a funny situation when you talk about discipline. But my definition of discipline is you talk about doing the right thing at the right time, at the right place. That doing the right thing, it is at the right time, it's at the right place, all that. Doing the right thing the right way. Basically, that is what. So if there is anything that is going to make the resolutions that you have written down, or the resolutions you will carry forward, if there is anything that will make them happen, is the discipline. And for us to have discipline, and for us to keep track of that and ensure that we are disciplined all through, so that by the end of the year, we are celebrating and saying, wow, can you see my 4, my 5, my 2 resolutions have been achieved? You will need to do one or two things. Number one is something that we call SMART goals, and I'm sure we know about SMART goals. I'm sure you've heard them somewhere. The SMART, that meaning the specific, the measurable, the achievable, the relevant, and the time bound. All those things, I'm sure you've heard about them. But I want to say that one of the things personally I've done is I have these 4. This year I have 4 of them, and I have split those 4, each one of them in its own level per month, that I have monthly goals. It's not, I'm not going to evaluate this at the end of the year. I have scheduled that per month, that I want to do this and this and this per month. How can it interpret into per month? How can I achieve a monthly goal that will ultimately accumulate into a 12 months achievement by the end of the year? If, for example, depending on what it is that you want to achieve, let me just say, for example, for the students who want to improve in the academics, that is it's a good resolution, that I want to improve in my academics. And like over this December holiday, and I've been asking the students, what would you want to achieve next year? And one of them kept insisting most of them about their academic improvement. So the question is, exactly what? Now, that is too general. It needs to be a bit specific. When you talk about SMART, we are saying it needs to be a bit specific. Exactly academically, what are you talking about? You're talking about mathematics, for example. You're talking about English. You're talking about what subject? Can you specify it down? Don't just say academic. Academic is everything. But we want to hear specifically, which are these subjects that you know, if you do well, it will mean ultimately it will bring you success. So I want to do well in mathematics. Exactly what do you mean that you want to do well? Because you are scoring 10, 20, 40%. So what do you want to achieve? You want to achieve a 60% or even a 70%. Why not? Okay, there are some of us who may never be able to achieve 70%. But if you achieve a 60% or a 50%, it's an achievement for you. So you need to put it down that specifically, academically, exactly what you want. I want to improve in mathematics and achieve the 60%. So where am I now? I am at 30%. So at what point do I want to achieve 60%? Maybe I want to achieve that by second term or by third term. I want to end the year at 60%. And so you break that down into termly or even by mid-term goals, where you decide, now I am at 30, or even let's even put it at 20, because I know 20s are doable, even 10. I have all range of students who can perform all manner of achievements in mathematics. Assuming you have a 10 or 20, how do you take that to 60 by the end of the year? You will not wake up one day in a miracle and find yourself at 60. You need to agree, for the next exam, I am at 10. I'm only adding 5 marks. How do I add the 5 marks in those whatever? Because it has to be gradual. Don't make it something practicable, achievable, and that's the other part that of the SMART goals that you're talking about. It needs to be achievable. Can you add 5? Yes. Can you achieve 30 in one go? It's not possible. So let's break it down into small bits that you can chew. You can add 5. How do I add the 5? By making sure every day, and students despise this a lot, when you're told 5 months, 5 questions, mathematics questions every day. If you do 5 questions every day, you can be sure that by the next you're doing the next exam, you will have added 5 marks. Trust me, even if you feel you are what, you'll still be able to add your 5. In the next exam, before you close first term, utakuwa 30. Now you are at 25. The next one, you'll be at 30. So by the time we are finishing first term, at least you'll be at 30. Second term, where will you be? At 35 or at 40. The third term, you'll be. So by the end of December, when you're doing the end of year exam, you will be at your 60. What am I saying? That unless you break those points down, even for adults, where probably I want to increase my sources of income, I want to increase my financial muscle, I want to save more, I need to agree by the end of the year, how much money do I need to save? So therefore, I am saving, let's say, this X amount of money. And so per month, how much do I need to save? I need to save X divided by 12. And so for me to achieve this X divided by 12 per month, do I need an extra income? Do I need an extra hustle? Or do I need to sacrifice some things I buy? Maybe I need to skip lunch this number of days in a week. Or do I need to avoid taking sugar so that, what is this practical thing that you can do so that by the end of the month, not even the end of the year, by the end of the month, you've been able to achieve your monthly goals? Because your daily goals, your monthly goals are supposed to be led to from the weekly goals. Because after you come from the month, you need to also ask yourself, per week, how much do I need to do for me to get to the monthly? Because one of the challenges we're having is being very ambiguous. We are so general. We generalize everything. And with this era, as I wind up, with this era where so much is competing for attention, so much is calling for attention. Like, for example, even if you want to do whatever, there is one constant factor that we must take care of, the issue of time management. Not just for the student, but for the adults as well. Because we as adults, actually, we are worse time managers than our children, than the students themselves, especially with our phones as the adults. In fact, there's a meme I saw somewhere where a child was looking at the parents holding their phones and the child was saying, I wish I was that phone. Dionishikwe to the whole day. If you see my mom's phone down, trust me, she's in the shower. If you see dad's phone down, I don't know what has happened, because it's always in his hands. Why? Because it's not that we are working online and we are doing something productive. Many times, how many hours do we spend just scrolling? Not anything important we are doing. We are not learning a new skill. We are not doing business. We are not, we are just scrolling. How many times have we ever thought, I want just to check something on WhatsApp? I want to check something on Instagram, just something very briefly. I just I have less than 5 minutes to be online. Let me do that. Within a short time, you are so distracted. You're on TikTok, you are wherever, and an hour is over. In fact, you're surprised. You mean 2 hours are over while you're doing what? You're just scrolling. And one of the things we are known for as Kenyans, and has worked very well for our advantage, is our connectivity, internet connectivity. Actually, we are better than most of the African countries. And that's why the people say, if you want to fight with Kenyans, the worst place you can fight with Kenyans is online, because you will be beaten 10-0 while you're standing. You will be on the floor without your knowing, because Kenyans have the strongest connectivity on the internet. So we have so many opportunities. That's why I'm here talking to you. We have so many opportunities of doing so much online. In the same breath, we have so much time wastage when you're scrolling on our phones. And so, can I tell you something? That for you to be able to achieve those New Year resolutions you've written down, there's a discipline that we must have, especially on time management. There's an app someone was introducing me to, where you block your phone for some time. And I have not yet understood it well, but I need to understand that well, because between this and this time, your phone, you are able to stay offline. Even if you are so tempted, you can actually just be able to assist with that discipline of staying offline, so that you know that between 3 and 4 hours, I'm not going online at all. I am doing other things. I'm focusing on this. Even if I am online, I am disciplined enough to not scroll to other places which are not adding value to the objective of the day, because by the end of the week, I need to have achieved this. Let me say that the other thing that probably will help you to achieve those New Year's resolutions or last year's resolutions that you never did is accountability. That even as you practice discipline, as you check on your focus and your time management, please ensure that you're accountable. You have someone who is watching your back, who is watching your steps, who is telling you, by the way, I would want to hear, how are you doing? I left when we had agreed that by the end of every week, you're doing this. By the end of every month, you're doing this. By the end of this, you're doing this. How are you doing? How far are we? Someone who actually will put you on your toes and tell you you're not doing well. You are behind schedule. You have not, when you're able to have that someone who can be able to keep you in check, you can be sure that by the end of the year, you'll have been able to achieve your objectives. And I want to wish as well in this new year, my students, I want to wish you well and pray that God will give you success, will give you the discipline to stay focused. Even in your schoolwork, you will improve in your studies. And while you're doing that, I want to ask you, as you begin this year, ask yourself, what subjects am I struggling with if I really want to improve? Am I struggling in mathematics? Am I struggling in English? Am I struggling in Kiswahili or the humanities and so on? What am I struggling with? In those subjects, 3 or 4 subjects that are so bad, what topics are an issue? Narrow it down to the topics. How many, which topics specifically? In Form 1, what topics are a struggle? In Form 2, what topics in mathematics am I not getting? In Form 3, just note them down and then have a schedule. The personal timetable, which we have refused. Most of us are so bored. We don't want to do personal timetables. Come up with that person. Have the discipline. Have a desk mate who will keep checking on you. You will keep being accountable. There's so much you can do with yourself. There's so much you can do. And by the end of the year, you'll see your dream come true. You'll see your dream grade coming through. Follow your personal timetable. And that topic that you wrote down that I want to deal with, algebra in mathematics. And this week, I am dealing with algebra only. So you do the many exercises, take that to the teacher for marking. I hope there is one teacher in the subject, in the department, in mathematics department, in physics department who can mark work for you. Maybe not the teacher who is teaching you, but someone else or anybody else in the school who can mark for you, or even a senior who can mark for you, or even using the mark book. I mean, the answers book, let your desk mate mark for you. The questions you don't understand, ask your desk mate or the best student in physics in your class. Finish that topic, go to the next topic. Trust me, by the end of this term, first term, you will see development. By the end of second term, better. By the end of third term, your achievement will happen. But if you wake up, if you sleep and pray and trust that you will improve, it's not going to happen, because our God is not like that. He wants you to work, put in the work, put in the hard work, because He will bless the work of our hands. And for our parents, we've got this. God will help us. The New Year resolutions on finances, on weight loss, those of us who really want to lose weight, on our spiritual walk, we want to study the Bible. Let it make it measurable. Something per week. How many chapters am I reading per week? How many verses am I reading per day? And all that. Let's make them measurable. And in our hustles, in our businesses, in our employments, may God make our dreams come true and our resolutions come true. So happy New Year and a wonderful year ahead. May God bless you. I'll see you in the next one as we talk about the Father of Nations or whatever else. Thank you so much for keeping around.